I got started in residential assisted living because my mom was diagnosed with dementia at the age of 58. And we had moved her into a more traditional assisted living when the time was right. And after we had moved her into that assisted living, I wasn't just impeccably happy with it. I mean, it was clean, it was safe. She was going to have everything she needed, but it just was so big and quiet. And I was just scared she would lose her sense of community and sense of self. And so afterwards, I contacted the Alzheimer's Association here in Oklahoma City, and I asked if anybody had a house so that somebody could move from a house to a house. And it would be smaller, and theoretically, the transition would be a little bit easier for everybody. And at that time, there was no such concept. And so fast forward about 10 years later, we learned about residential assisted living, and that's why I'm here today. My husband was at a conference being put on by the real estate guys. And during that conference, he heard Gene Garino speak about residential assisted living and learned about the 3-day fast track. And after he connected with Gene, he called me immediately and said, "Katie, I think this is what you wanted for your mom. It's something you should check out." And so in September of 2019, that's when I attended the 3-day fast track. After the 3-day fast track, I was a little hesitant at the investment that was ahead of us. But my husband is very well versed in finance and investing. And so we collaborated and talked about it amongst ourselves. And in February of 2020, we decided to jump in. So we ended up taking a little bit of two routes almost simultaneously. We bought a kind of halfway built house in Norman, Oklahoma that was foundation, framing, and roof in July of 2021. And in the midst of that, started a local meetup where we met our current business partners who owned existing homes. And so we partnered with them to do the operations on the existing homes. So right now, we have 2 existing homes that we have opened and operated, and we are developing the house in Norman. So the state of Oklahoma does not have a lot of residential assisted living homes. And with that fact, my husband and I decided that we wanted to engage in the wild, wild west, as we call it here in Oklahoma, and open a house here in our state, in our home state. So my husband does a lot of investing and finance. So for our first development in Norman that we bought, we raised capital for that. And then for the existing houses, we just came up with a more traditional operating budget and jumped right in and took off the ground running with what the houses brought in as they opened and we moved in more residents. So with the current homes that we operate, staffing is our biggest challenge. And through the Rolla Academy, I was encouraged by the coaches to keep going and start our meetup here, which they supported. And through that meetup, I met some local owners and administrators who introduced me to an application called NERSA. And that has been a lifesaver in our staffing issues that we've had in both homes currently. So I learned real quickly that paper and filing is great for about 4 employees. But once you get past, 10 or more, it's a lot to handle. And my favorite application that we have used so far is Connect Team. And that's really helped to allow for a central place to schedule the employees, a central place to hold all of their personal information, and log call-ins and also send out updates, especially since opening this second house. The state itself didn't give me any issues. I will say that in our state, we have two separate classifications of care homes in our bylaws. One is residential care home, and one is assisted living. And until I went through the state administrator's class, did I learn the difference between the two. However, during the 3-day fast track, one of the helpful things that was given, one of the helpful resources was a link for all the state laws. And that's definitely kind of got me started in learning and being well versed in the laws here in our state. So at first, when you're trying to fill up your house and you want to take on residents that you can care for adequately, it's very hard to distinguish in the gray about who fits and who doesn't and how well you can help them versus are they really more appropriate for skilled nursing or nursing home versus assisted living. And the RAL Academy coaches helped work through that with me on a few of our residents, and now we're filling up quickly and it's becoming more clear. So you can definitely own a RAL while you have another job. I worked as a physician assistant part-time in urgent care for the first 90 days. However, my husband has continued to maintain his full-time corporate job while we've been operating and owning our current residential assisted livings. It was about 4 years. But COVID happened, and as we all know, COVID changed the world and it changed the economy, and we have 3 small children. It changed their schooling and was a challenge in and of itself. And I'm not using that as an excuse. It just really put a big hiccup in our plans, like everybody, really. Our homes right now are 4,200 square feet, and our home in Norman that we're developing is around 6,800 square feet. Our average rate is around $7,000 a month. Right now, we're still in the growing phases of our business, and so I work really closely with the manager because I am the manager. And I work really closely with the caregivers right now. Fortunately, I live real close to the homes, so I can be hands-on. And what that allows me to do is build the culture that I want amongst the caregivers and the team, and also the environment and the culture in the house for our residents and their families. Our caregivers do not live in the home. They all work shifts. What really drew me into senior housing was going through the experience that I went through with my mom in her being diagnosed with dementia at such a young age, and finding appropriate care and housing. We moved her 3 times in the course of her illness, and ultimately she thrived in a smaller home-like environment. And additionally, working in healthcare as a physician assistant in family medicine has really opened my eyes that it's something that is needed in our community for all seniors as we age, and that's why I'm here. I think one of the best things you can do is start with the 3-day fast track program. And then from there, work to build a team where you are weakest. So if you don't know a lot about finance, find a guy who's good at finance and make him part of your team, or a gal. It can be a girl. If you aren't great in healthcare, find somebody who's in healthcare and who has worked in assisted living in your area to be on your team to help you raise the business from the ground up, so that you know what you're doing and you can move efficiently through all the state laws and working with nurses and hiring. And once you have your team, then you'll have a great thing. The best way to connect with our home is go to our website, www.legacyseniorhomes.com. We have all kinds of resources and information on our website about myself and the families that we have partnered with. There's also a 3D tour of our home so you can get an idea of what our home looks like and what it offers. And the other way to find us is on our Facebook page, Legacy Senior Living. There's all kinds of updates about what we're doing with our residents and education and resources.